guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aubrey, and on this channel we narrate the shift of the ages. In this episode we are going to be talking about the astrology of the month of May in its entirety from an energetic perspective. What can we expect throughout the course of the month? We are going to look at this month broken down by week basis. What is each week bringing to us energetically? How are things playing out there? I will tell you guys, this is another month where major personal transformation is sort of like the featured dish on the menu. Big changes underway. We have a lot of Uranian activations happening. We've got a lot of Plutonic energy going on. Actually, Pluto is stationing retrograde right as we begin the month of May. We have a lot of energy shifts happening. Jupiter is going to be leaving the sign of Taurus, entering Gemini. The way that we end this month is going to be much different vibrationally from where we're at when we begin the month and sort of where the energetic focus is. There is a very strong emphasis on the signs of Aries, on the sign Taurus, and at the end of the month, Gemini is the sign where all the action is starting to happen as Jupiter, Venus, and the Sun make their way into Gemini. What this is really probably going to mean for us is a month that starts out in a pretty significant level of intensity. There could be some powerful things coming to a head. There could be some really deep changes happening within us, especially in regards to what we feel drawn to, what we're attracted to, what it is that we want, what we even desire for ourselves anymore, what we find valuable. There are likely to be some very significant relationship changes that happen throughout the course of this month as well, along with it keeps looking like over and over these themes are presenting major financial change happening somehow as well. As we get to the end of the month, I'm telling you guys, there could literally be some type of like mind-blowing, life-altering information that we're figuring out, secrets revealed, seeing into the depths of things somehow, something that we had been unaware of, making itself aware of us, okay? Like the things that we didn't even know that we didn't know suddenly becoming very clear. All right. Something big about information, especially the third week. The third week of the month of May, we have some very like synchronistic, simultaneous alignments happening that to me are indicating probably something big going on that week. We've got a very beautiful blessed full moon in Sagittarius. I will tell you guys that it's featuring an exact Jupiter-Venus conjunction at 29 degrees of Taurus. That is going to bring something beautiful somehow, some way, somewhere. A blessed full moon we have coming up, good fortune, the things that we are working on, you guys, that we are putting action into, or that we are actively creating, actively putting our creative energy into throughout the course of the month of May is likely to culminate in some type of unexpected growth that's more or bigger or more abundant than we expected somehow, or in just some type of really beautiful like opportunity or very positive relationship or connection, or literally like being worth a lot of money somehow. Themes of exceptional value in the context of the new things that we are building, working on, putting energy into, like actively creating now. Very fertile grounds, I will tell you, as we're moving through this month of May. As you know, it is the growing season, Taurus, the season of the builder and of using our resources to create something materially beneficial to us somehow in like the 3D world. Earth sign, Venusian earth sign, but it has a lot to do with these same Taurian themes that we all know so much about: money, finances, economies, like material possessions, value, worth, wealth, potential, what we, resources, assets, all of that type of stuff, and also partnerships, alliances, commitments, like agreements. The Venusian themes, you guys, I've been talking about this as well. And we also, remember, have that South Node in the sign of Libra, and we're coming out of this eclipse season right now. There are relationship changes that are going to go on in the month of May. relationships that may have been very important to us or that may have defined an aspect of our identity throughout the course of our lives may find their end. We may find that they have run their course as we move through this month, but there are going to be like fated, destined, like divinely aligned and very appropriate new connections that are also coming in that are really going to support and assist us in our process of whatever it is that we are building, growing, cultivating, fertilizing, conceiving in this energy that is so centered around wanting us to take action, to plant seeds, to grow something new in accordance with something that is like real and authentic, or that we feel like we're being pulled towards, or this new version of ourselves that is emerging right now, and the way that we're recreating our world around us in reflection of who we're becoming as opposed to, you know, who we've been. Maybe we are in the breakdown phase of, and this is the Plutonic energy as well that is coming in at the beginning of the month. We've got like this breakdown energy as we have been experiencing a lot of in the month of April as well. We have been in a phase of breakdown, and now we've got a very, with the Neptunian energy, actually. Neptune and Mars were in a conjunction, and that was very much force, a potent force about letting things go, letting some things like wash away. And now as we enter the month of May, we've got Mars in the sign of Aries, we've got Venus in the sign of Taurus. So we are stable for the pursuit of some type of creative process that is leading us somewhere new, or that is leading us back home to an inner calling or an inner purpose or a destiny that's always been within us, but for whatever reason we haven't been able to align ourselves with, or it has not been the right time to activate yet, or that we are simply in the process of discovering right now. But regardless, with the Pluto energy coming in the first week, and we're going to go through each week, week by week, and we're going to talk about the primary energetic features of those weeks and sort of how they're playing, or how they're working together to play into this sort of overall story that the month of May is telling, that I'm kind of giving a little intro to as we start this video. But with the strong Platonic energy and the Venetian square that we have to start the month, internal transformations, I'm telling you guys, shifting preferences, like people are, I mean, Pluto, Venus square with Venus in her sign of Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius. This is deeply transformative in terms of matters of the heart, primarily as we enter this month of May, which hosts our Taurus season, which is ruled by Venus, and that's how Venus enters the month, making a square to Pluto, right? And also Uranus, Jupiter, Sun coming into a conjunction, and Venus is going to be there too later this month in the sign of Taurus as well. This is also representing shifts, changes, realignments in terms of matters of the heart, the Venetian energy, relationships, projects, partnerships. There is going to be some type of a realignment that happens in the context of relationships and also in the context of the more financially based Venetian themes as well. Okay, so all that being said, let's get into, you know, going through week by week now. The first week of May, as I said, we start out in some rather strong intensity, some pretty powerful energy. We do have a square playing out between Venus and Pluto that will be exact on May 1st. And we also have Mars at 0 degrees of Aries. Another thing I forgot to say when I was describing the energy, there is some very, very fiery energy this month. There's also a Mars North Node conjunction that is happening. Things could feel a bit out of control at varying points throughout the course of the month. There could be, you know, a tendency to maybe some more like violence prone happenings, events, circumstances playing out, something to keep in mind. However, things that are happening this month, again, are highly fated, you know, divine timing, very, very much at play. Like, these are things that have to happen for a specific reason related to self-empowerment somehow. The things that are happening this month as a direct consequence or byproduct or, you know, down the road or whatever, will translate into some type of self-empowering circumstances that went on. So we need to keep that in mind. And there's also an energy as we move through the end of the month as well. And we do get the planets preparing to enter the sign of Gemini, and the focus sort of switches to what it is that we're actually learning and figuring out, and like how that changes things. Mars and Chiron will come into an alignment well, and we'll talk about this more as we get obviously through the video. I think this is around the 3rd or 4th week that this is happening, but that is indicating to me that people, you know, every energy always operates according to, you know, a multitude of octaves, but an active process of healing underway, and also wisdom through experience, like actually being implemented to break some cycles. Like people are going to be making some good choices to not continue doing things based on realizations that they were like largely unaware of in terms of contributing to their own self-sabotaging behavior. Like people are going to be breaking karmic cycles, like stepping out of either conscious or unconscious patterns, like breaking addictions and stuff like that as well. That's an energy that's going to be coming through as we get towards the end of the month. But there is I guess we could say like people are not probably going to be hiding from a fight throughout the course of the month. Like people aren't going to be backing down from like confrontation, and it is likely to be a pretty fiery time out there. But again, remember, self-empowerment is the primary energetic, like universal push in the context, you know, of whatever might be playing out to get us there, or to trigger that, or to act as some type of catalytic event in a series of events that unfold that have that ultimate outcome somehow. So there's that. Now, more specifically, week 1, as I said, we enter into some intensity. Venus square Pluto is always a bit intense. Another indication, again, of this financial turbulence, transformative partnership, relationship, financial stuff going on, power struggles perhaps. This is another energy also, Venus square Pluto, that has to do with taking back power on one level and not allowing ourselves to be controlled by our desire to like have things. Like this is figuring out how to not be enslaved to the material world or to money, or to, it can also represent like addictions and stuff like that, but generally where we are surrendering our power out of any sense of like lack that we may have going on, and what aspects of our own purity or our own beauty or like our own inner love for ourselves, our own relationship to ourselves, we're willing to sacrifice for some type of power or some type of wealth or some type of status. Okay, so we could be experiencing some like self-checks or something coming up along those lines. It can also bring quite an obsessive, like compulsive like drive towards things to do with people and relationships, kind of very obsessive energy. And especially also with Mars at 0 degrees of Aries, this could really be people like going after it, like pursuing their passions in almost an obsessive way, or some type of just like powerful urge to like do something, chase something, pursue something, get something done, act somehow. And this is probably like this plutonic energy really that is present on Monday. I don't know if it's Monday actually, but it's the 1st of May, is likely to intensify moving into the 2nd, because that is the day that Pluto stations retrograde. Actually, May 1st is a Wednesday, because that's when I'm putting out this video. So Thursday, the 2nd of May, Pluto stations retrograde, obviously in the square to Pluto. It's not exact. The exact square was on Monday, but it's still pretty freaking close, you guys. And Venus actually, as if the Venus in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius energy wasn't indicative enough of this financial upheaval or relationship rebellion. Like there's just this revolution, rebellion, breaking free, value, worth, wealth, partnerships, relationships, projects, land, assets, possessions, material world. Again, also, like I said, these themes of what we're no longer willing to sacrifice for some type of status or some type of image or some type of like financial gain or benefit, or what it is that's truly valuable to us, shifting values, shifting preferences, major priority in some powerful ways the first week. And it's being extra emphasized because on the exact day that Pluto is stationing retrograde, yes, he's in a square to Venus in Taurus, which is definitely giving this energy, but Venus is also at a specific degree in the zodiac, the Chiron point, which has everything to do with true value, true worth, true wealth, in association actually with the gold of the soul and the self-empowerment that comes through our ability to transmute our pain, to transmute our trauma into wisdom that sets us free to be a more conscious creator of our experience and our reality and align ourselves with our true purpose and our true destiny. All of the Chiron themes, you guys. So as Pluto stations retrograde on the 2nd of May, Venus, who is in a square to Pluto, is at the Chiron point. This is we have a 2-in-1 transit playing out. Chiron point activation, Venus squaring Pluto, well actually 3 because Pluto is going retrograde. All of these things are indicating, on one hand, we are going to see, I do think that we will begin to see over this next several months as Pluto retrogrades, a decentralization of financial situations with the square to Venus, but also power and control and authority generally. I do think also, one thing I didn't mention so far about this month of May, there is the beginning of a breakdown in authority that is transitioning us into a space of expanded novelty in our experiences as we move through the month of May as well. Tons of Uranian energy going on, and also there is a strong breakdown indicated in the Saturnian vibes that we'll talk about as we get through the month as well, but I wanted to mention that as we're getting this kicked off also. But the first week, there is, just very strong indications of some type of intense, powerful, deeply personal, transformative experiences that are either impacting the way that we are relating to ourselves in the world and therefore changing what we want, or powerful changes happening in the context of the material world around us somehow, or of our financial situation, or of our actual partnership situation. So whether it's happening externally or whether it's happening internally, a lot of it's going to lead to the same place. As we move through the first week of May, this is going to be a lot of very busy energy. It probably is going to feel like one thing after another after another. We may have a bit of a hard time catching up with ourselves this first week. The moon is going to be transiting Aries and Taurus, where all of these big stelliums of planets are right now to start the month of May, which means, and the moon is like a trigger for activity that's going on. When the moon is making transits to planets, things have a tendency of just like happening. And so when the moon is hitting this like small wedge of the zodiac where we've got these two massive stelliums right now in Aries and Taurus to start the month, it's like one thing after another, like every single day the moon is making multiple contacts, which means there's going to be like a lot of things probably happening and just a lot of busy energy going on, a lot of shifts going on throughout the course. The day starts one way and ends like very differently. And that's sort of what we're dealing with, I would say, between the 4th and the 7th. Okay, closing out the first week. So overall, the first week of May, we have Pluto stationing, squaring Venus, which I've talked about at the Chiron point, the moon lighting up these massive stelliums in those two signs, and we are setting up our new moon energy also, which is going to come in on the 8th, and for some of us, it's going to be happening on the 7th, depending where in the world you are, because it's happening like very early universal time, so a lot of people, it's going to to be hitting later in the day on the 7th. Moving into that second week, we do, of course, open this week with our new moon in Taurus. It will be in a conjunction to Uranus, although it's not an exact conjunction. This is still going to be an energy that sets off the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that has been active over this past couple of weeks for sure. And of course, since this is our new moon energy, it's going to be another lunar cycle that is very, very characterized by whatever's going on as a result of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus. All about money, value, resources, land, assets, possessions, partnerships, shocks, surprises, sudden growth, sudden change, huge energy. And it's interesting, you know, the new moon in the sign of Taurus, like, it is indicating a period of unexpected growth in some way, in some direction. And then with Mars in the sign of Aries and the Martian energy, the Aries energy that we have going on, there's this massive drive, right, towards planting something, towards building something, towards like getting after something. And then remember, as we get towards the end of the month, and we'll talk about this the 4th week, we do have this really positive full moon that is playing out with Venus and Jupiter in an exact conjunction at 29 degrees of Taurus. This new moon, you know, new moons are always intention setting times. New moons are always when we set our goals, make our plans for what we want to create and what we want to develop and grow and come into fruition over the course of the lunar cycle. This one is like a super manifesting new moon cycle. I would highly recommend, if you like to use the energies and to work in alignment with the energies in terms of whatever you are working on manifesting or growing or working towards in your life, you don't want to miss out on this particular new moon cycle. Spending some extra time to really put some energy into planning what you want to do next, what you want your world to look like, what you want yourself to look like, and how you want your world to function as a reflection of that. Making plans, creating new systems, developing new habits, like literally growing new gardens, like, I don't, you know, however this is playing out for you. And you can probably get a good idea by knowing where Taurus is in your birth chart and where this particular new moon is going to be activating your life via the house that it's happening in. That's a good way to figure it out if it's not something that you just have an inherent awareness as we're moving through this energy. But the fact that the new moon culminates with the Jupiter-Venus conjunction in the sign of Taurus for a new moon cycle with that full moon, there can be some really big, beautiful, financially beneficial things that go on. But another thing, you know, there could be a sense of overinflated value about stuff as we move through the end of the month as well. However, we'll talk about that more as we get there, but I do think that just the fact that this is happening along with the full moon for our Taurus cycle, with the new moon happening in the conjunction to Uranus, unexpected blessings coming from our efforts this month. The new connections, the new business deals, the new investments, the new like literal things that we are building, that we are designing, that we are creating, that we are working on. Very, very good, you guys. Looking like it's going to pay off for us somehow as we move through this cycle. Building something new and different, very much associated with the energy of this new moon that we are moving towards, also giving definitely explorer, adventurer, conquest type of vibes as well. We'll talk all about it as we get to that point in time, and I put out the new moon video. Not going to get too much more into it now, but it's looking like a very like new frontier-y type of new moon cycle that we've got coming up with some positive outcomes. Also very, there could be some real interesting things happening with cryptocurrencies starting with that new moon. And, you know, we could really see some big things happen with that come the full moon as well. The big deal, though, I would say, aside from the new moon on the 8th, is the 13th. That's a day that I have circled on my calendar that I made this morning of all the transits, and it is Sun conjunct Uranus day in the sky. Every year we have a day where the sun comes into alignment with Uranus. It happens to be happening on the 13th of May, and it's also happening at a rather precarious degree in the sky, and we'll talk about that in the daily videos. It's also happening with the moon in Leo, forming a trine to Mars in the early degrees of fire signs. This could honestly be like kind of a heated day. This could be a day, the 13th, where there's some things just like popping off. There could be some more like violent or brutal or like rebellion, non-compliant oriented energy happening, playing out there. This may be a day where you kind of just want to step to the sidelines a little bit. There's obviously a very strong Uranian influence, shocks, surprises, things happening out of nowhere unexpectedly, and with the Mars Leo fire influence, Mars and Aries at 0 degrees, and the degree where this is happening, it just gives me a little bit of feeling like I should wave a caution flag around this date. Week 2 is probably, frankly, just a weird week. Probably not normal stuff happening. We probably have things going on that are off the beaten track of our normal day-to-day, week-to-week experiences. Lots of changes happening and underway. This is an extremely faded window period of time that we're in right now. Not only do we have a very strong, obviously, Uranian influence going on, and Uranus and Aquarius, you guys. These are energies that have a lot to do with the future, and the future in the context of facilitating the path for a certain future, a certain destiny, one may say, to come to pass. So when we're dealing with Uranian energy, when we're dealing with Aquarian energy, a lot of times it's a little bit ahead of where we're actually at, and it makes things happen in such a way that we can't necessarily understand when they're happening. This is energy that brings blessings in disguise. It's silver linings. It's obviously, the lightning striking the tower energy, and it facilitates a path for a destiny to come to fruition that we wouldn't have done for ourselves for whatever reason. And a lot of times because of that, it's very unsettling. It can be very scary. We find ourselves a lot of times like having to face situations and scenarios that we would have rather avoided, but it's because for whatever reason, going through that experience that we wouldn't have put ourselves through is what is necessary to align us with the path or the person or the opportunity or the mindset shift or whatever that is going to make us who we need to become in the greater context of our soul evolution and soul journey through this life, our own personal karma that we need to deal with. Uranus is the energy that helps us to overcome that and to move personally into a future that is a state of greater soul evolution. Okay? And so for that reason, because Uranian energy facilitates a future to come into fruition that we can't necessarily conceive of before it's happened, it can be very disconcerting. It can be very uncomfortable, especially when we're talking about Jupiter and Uranus. That's like a big shakeups, big realignments, big changes that we definitely wouldn't have made. In the sign of Taurus, this is the status quo, right? This is the comfort zone. This is, Venus is definitely disturbing the peace. Also, when we're talking about the simultaneous Martian influence, Mars in the sign of Aries, moving towards the North Node, which is the second element of destiny and fate that is indicated in the month of May. Not only do we have, just like April, when we were in eclipse season, which was brought to us, which is always brought to us by the nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon energetically in astrology represent destiny and karma. When we're dealing with nodal activations, there's always an element of destiny and karma that we are interacting with. Same when we're dealing with Uranian energy. So we've got all this Uranian energy amplified, the biggest ever. It takes, I think it's 14 years until these two planets are going to come back together again. And then we've got the North Node being super activated at the same time this month in the sign of Aries by the planet Mars, who rules the sign of Aries. So very fated actions underway. The actions that we are taking, even if we don't recognize it at the time, probably have something to do with something that is happening right now to move us in some direction that is ultimately going to be for our benefit somehow, even if we don't know we're doing it, or even if we have no perception or conception that that's what's actually happening in this energy. You know what I mean? So, that being said, things could be very weird. Things could be feeling a bit out of control when we're dealing with the North Node. It's known as the head of the dragon. It can be a very compulsive, out of control, ravenous type of energy where we're just after something, like an insatiable desire or need or fervor. Fervor is a very good word to describe, I feel like, the energy that is driving us, okay, throughout the course of this month of May as well. Lots of drive towards something new, lots of drive towards something very different that we are Taurus, right? Building, working on, involved with. Another aspect of this energy, aside from the North Node that Mars is moving towards, which is compelling us forward. Huge future focus throughout the course of this month as well, because all the emphasis on the Uranian energy, right? This is the future coming into focus somehow, even if we're not doing it. And then Mars with the North Node, this is like a drive to move ahead. So both of those things indicating the emphasis on where we're going next, what we're doing to build something brand new. That's how these puzzle pieces are fitting together. The tapestry that we are weaving throughout the month of May, it is a picture of a slingshot shooting us forward somehow. Also, breakdowns in authority, waning authority, and old belief systems that may have been an authority in our lives somehow could be a feature as we're moving through this second week. Previous restrictions or limitations becoming less of a problem for us somehow. And the flip side of this energy is going to be a lesson that we are collectively working with, a theme that we are collectively working with actually over the course of the next 20 years. And that is, now that I don't necessarily have to operate in a world that is so strictly guided by authority and by guidelines of other people and of the material 3D matrix, how do I manage my own time, energy, and efforts for the best results to me personally in what I am growing, what I am creating, what I am striving towards, as we move through this period of time of decentralization of power and control generally? What new systems can I personally build that support my individual process of growth towards my goals? Emerging themes over this next 20 years, and we are going to learn to be much more self-governing, and we're going to learn to be much more self-motivated as well, I think, in terms of the overall structure of our experience. And everything is playing into that. I started talking about how this is ultimately all driving towards self-empowerment in some way. And, coming into a greater state of self-empowerment obviously also is in alignment with this generalized self-actualization that this other energy is pushing us towards as well. There is a possibility this week could highlight, as I was mentioning, with the fired up Martian energy, a rebellion associated with the Aquarian, Uranian vibes. That is obviously like rebellion and revolution, huge themes associated with those planets as well. The 13th specifically, when the Sun and Uranus come together, giving the, conquest, brutality, maybe a little bit of unhinged popping off of, more violent type of stuff going on. But it's about taking back personal power somehow as an ultimate outcome. There's also crazy symbolism that is going on, as I said, throughout the course of this month that just are kind of indicating and emphasizing some of these same themes, like people not bending the knee, general non-compliance, kind of like in the least. And things are probably just the second week not going to go as you expected. So moving through the week without any type of set expectations, probably gonna have you in a better place by the time we get to the end of it. Let's talk about the third week now, you guys, starting with the 15th. The 15th, we do have some shifting vibes going on. Actually, the third week is hosting some shifting vibes generally. On the 15th, starting the week, Mercury will enter the sign of Taurus. This is going to be shifting our focus a bit. And then on the 20th, as we are closing out the third week, the sun will enter Gemini and start to put the emphasis on the Gemini energy, which we are going to get into big time as we close out the month of May and head into June. The big news really though, the third week, you guys, is whatever's going on the 18th. And whatever's going on the 18th is so kind of big, it seems like, that I wouldn't really be surprised if it bleeds into the 16th or the 17th or the 19th or the 20th. All week, the third week, it looks like there's something happening. It's hard to say what exactly, but the 18th is the hot spot or of it, or the hotbed of activity that's associated with it. All week, we have several things going on, okay? I mean, as I said, the 15th to start the week, we have Mercury entering Taurus. That's shifting the focus a little bit. But all week, we have the sun building into a conjunction with Jupiter. We have Venus building into a conjunction with Uranus. We have Mars building into a conjunction with the North Node. And they all happen to hit to the degree conjunction on the same day, which happens to be the 18th. And on that day, synchronistically, some may say coincidentally, we also have Mercury exactly conjunct the Chiron point, which is one of these important degree points, and in a square to Pluto, where Venus was to start the month. And we are also going to be having the moon in a conjunction with the black moon in Virgo, forming an opposition to Neptune. Then throughout the day, moving on and forming a trine to Pluto retrograde also. So all the personal planets, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, are going to be engaging by conjunction to important planets, important points, or both, all happening on the same day. Mars, Venus, and the sun, exact conjunction, North Node, Uranus, Jupiter. That's huge. And then the moon and Mercury with the black moon and the Chiron point, and also both aspecting Pluto and the moon aspecting Neptune as well. They're for all of these planets to be making connections like this exactly on the same day, to me, it's just indicating something big is likely to be happening. Of course, I'm going to say it looks to me like it's financial or relationally oriented somehow. Big change, could be opportunities, but fated events, fated actions taking place, could definitely be a conflict-ridden week. I will tell you that. Something very much so upsetting the balance, the peace, the comfort zone, the status quo of things. Another lightning striking the tower week for sure. And it really just looks like some type of big, sudden, event or ongoing or happening, not necessarily bad, but just something shaking things up somehow. And it's just hitting everything for all of these personal planets. And the fact that we also have the moon with the black moon, and Neptune and Pluto, and then we've got Mercury in the square to Pluto as well, and at the Chiron point, something about value, worth, wealth, changing preferences, shifting desires, these relationship themes as well. Like I said, there is something coming through this month also about old relationships and new relationships, and the new relationships are what we are going to build the future with. The old relationships are no longer a reflection of who we are on a soul level anymore. So I don't know. I think week number 3 is going to be it just looks like there's going to be, some interesting things playing out. It will be very surprising to me if we go through this week and there aren't some significant things that take place somehow. Now let's close out the month of May, moving into week 4. Week 4, This is where the potential comes through, you guys, for some type of life-changing, life-altering perspective that we might be gaining, secrets revealed, revelation, some type of profound awareness, seeing the bigger picture in a way that is quite mind-blowing, but like the information or what we're finding out or our perspective that we're gaining, something life-altering about it. Some may say paradigm shifting as we go through this last week and head towards the month of June. Shift in awareness, that is a big deal. Maybe kind of a roller coaster week. We do have this last week the full moon in Sag that I was talking about. Full moon in Sag ruled by Jupiter in an exact conjunction to Venus at 29 Taurus. This is the week where there could be some very high highs, things. We are going to have to be careful that we are not biting off more than we can chew, that we are not overestimating the value of things. Things could look a bit too good to be true. There could be an element of overinflation that is presenting somehow, but I do not want to undercut the vast potential just for some good stuff to be happening. This is going to be a really good week if you want to do like any type of beauty treatments. They'll probably go really well. You'll probably get really good outcomes and results, but blessings, good fortune, positive growth in terms of what we put our efforts into creating throughout the course of the month. And we'll talk all about it, of course, as we get to the video in real time as this energy comes together and I put out the full moon video for the month, but something of extreme value presenting to us somehow, being given to us somehow, that we're interfacing with somehow. I don't know, but that's what it's looking like as at least we begin the fourth week. As we move through the fourth week, the Gemini energy is gaining more and more weight in terms of where the focus is oriented, where the energy is oriented. We've already got the sun in Gemini. The 24th, Venus enters Gemini. And remember, Gemini is an air sign. Currently, we have Pluto retrograde in the early degrees of the sign of Aquarius. So as these planets hit zero Aquarius, just as when they hit zero Taurus, they were all squaring Pluto. Now they're all going to be trining Pluto, and Pluto is retrograde. You know what that means to me when we've got Gemini planets in the early degrees trining Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and one of them is Jupiter? To me, that means massive revelations centered in truth, where light is being shown into the darkness under the surface, what's been hidden coming to light, secrets revealed. And these are going to be truths that, with all the Uranian energy going on right now and a Mercury-Uranus conjunction coming this week as well, literally like shock us, okay? Blow our mind and cause some type of mental shift, change in awareness, perceptional reframe that has the impact of altering the way that we are doing life and interfacing with ourselves and reality moving forward. It is all working together, you guys. This is a month about massive personal transformation, you know, coming from within us, coming from our mind and our awareness shifting, coming from a revaluation and a new relationship that we are gaining to ourselves and the world around us. And it's all for the purpose of like unlocking our relationship to our higher self, our awareness of our own purpose, our like direct connection to what is real and what is authentic and what is like really meaningful and valuable to us, and helping us build and grow and recreate ourselves and reinvent ourselves in alignment with that, because we are transitioning into the age of Aquarius, you guys. We are narrating the shift of the ages on this channel. We are in a 20-year Pluto transit through the sign of Aquarius. This is a process starting now that will unfold over the course of the next 2,000 years, where we are being called to align with a greater destiny, a phase of self-actualization, to reprogram our subconscious minds in a way that allows us to consciously create our reality, to break ourselves free from karmic cycles and cycles of trauma and generational like curses and stuff like that that may have perpetuated for long periods of time. This is literally like wiping the slate clean next 20 years, where we learn how to re-govern ourselves with the power that we are re-identifying with as we take our power back and rediscover these deep truths within us. And the value that they really represent moving forward. And as we move through this period of time and as we go through these changes, we will come to discover that our experiences of life are significantly more fulfilling. The happiness and the joy that we experience is so much more pure and true. And as a result of that, we are going to discover a new experience of like what it truly means to be alive while living the same life that we've always participated in. I do think that we will come to find sort of collectively that, you know, once we get down the road quite a bit and a lot of this energy has come and gone and we're moving through this process, looking back at the times that we are coming out of now will seem like an entirely different world, an entirely different life, an entirely different reality. Very interesting how all of this is playing out at this specific time in our unfolding cosmic blueprint. So reconsidering the past, history, our own ideas and beliefs, starting now, moving forward. It's reminding me of that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. You know what I mean? Like whenever like you're learning something new and you realize like how vast the body of knowledge was and like you thought you knew a little bit, but as you're getting into it, you realize you really know nothing. That's my experience with astrology on like a daily basis, just so you guys all know. But that's what I feel like this is like we are figuring out that, you know, what we thought we knew, oh, maybe we didn't ever actually know that. And then like once we come to that realization, it's like, oh wait, but like what else am I was unaware of? And that kind of like snowball effect perhaps being something that really kind of like unwinds over the course also of this next 20-year period with Pluto transiting the sign of Aquarius, a sign of information. I think that we are going to be coming to find sort of collectively that we had no idea how much we were, you know, really unaware of. We thought things were a certain way, but we're discovering, wait, maybe they weren't. So what else does that mean is not what we thought it was? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Bringing in also Jupiter entering the sign of Gemini. This is happening on the 26th. This is happening on the 26th in a trine to Pluto. Like I said, the planets entering the sign of Gemini are going to kick off with a trine to Pluto. To me, that's bringing awareness, especially with Pluto retrograde, awareness about the past. Also, that's why I'm talking about like history and stuff. Pluto's also going to back into Capricorn one final time. We're going to find out a lot about our own history, you guys, that may not exactly be as we thought that it was over this next year, this next several months with what am I talking about? Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Revelations, you guys, light into darkness, exposing the truth of what's been hidden, what's been going on behind the scenes. Faded breakthroughs could have to do with government, could have to do with authority, elite, ruling class, also, you know, things to do with like bosses or just authority figures generally. The 26th, that is, we have Jupiter entering Gemini and forming that trine to Pluto. So Jupiter's going to be at that degree for the rest of the month of May. The rest of May into June, I feel like that is overall the general vibe. Jupiter entering Gemini. Venus is also in Gemini, remember. The sun is also in Gemini. This is going to bring a lot, aside from a lot of information, a lot of chatter, a lot of conversations and communications, a lot of insight, a lot of revelations, a lot of secrets revealed, a lot of things that we didn't know about were happening that we find out about are happening, a lot of truth, a lot of wisdom also. This is also going to bring a lot of options, opportunities, and characteristic Gemini energy, indecision, an abundance of choices, but like people are going to be wanting to try the sampler platter with things. This is a very non-committal energy. This month of the end of May, moving into June, this is, okay, May, most of May, up until about like the full moonish and then moving through that last week, this is quite a committal energy with all of the Taurus planets and the Aries planets that are like in pursuit of not only the North Node, but also Venus and the Taurian energy. Very, we could see some solid commitments going on in the first 3 weeks of the month of May. But like as we get to the end of the month, Venus, Jupiter, the sun, all in the sign of Gemini, this is like the sampler platter of life, okay? This is wanting to try all the choices and all the options and all the alternatives before like settling down on a specific thing. Non-committal, but very open-minded. People are also going to be making very different choices than they've made in the past based on the new things that they're learning right now and how that is altering what they want, preferences, desires, attraction, all of that. Disrupting patterns that have been playing out for long periods of time, acting on wisdom and lessons gained through painful experiences as well. We're also going to have a Mars Chiron conjunction that plays out that 4th week. Cycle breaking energy, not only, you know, the Jupiterian trying to Pluto, like seeing through the patterns that we've been enmeshed in subconsciously and how that has worked to our own detriment, and like consciously choosing with the awareness and truth brought by Jupiter to make a different choice, stop a perpetuating pattern. And then Mars and the North Node together, this is also like actively breaking cycles, like actively choosing to heal ourselves perhaps from old unhealed wounds of the past that may have been keeping us in states of victimhood. Truth that sets us free from the past, I feel like really being represented by the 4th week of energy that we have coming through. Wisdom driving actions will be the high octave manifestation about the energy. There will be low octave manifestations about the energy, taking things way overboard, people not exactly being honest about stuff, people trying to get away with things. That is also something that we could find, and we'll talk all about it as we get closer to this energy, as we head into that 4th week. But overall, I feel like this month is looking like, as I've said probably more times than I needed to, another very personally transformative month. Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus are our highlights for the month, very financially and relationally oriented, and then a big information kick going into the end of the month, things collapsing, transforming, disturbing the peace. There could be a very rash, like impulsive, fired up, reckless energy that we're dealing with mid-month as well. Rebellion and revolution very much so in the air. Nobody is like bending the knee, okay, in this energy. Secrets revealed that could change the world or our personal individual little worlds, somehow making a big impact. That's what I have to say, you guys. That's how I feel like this month is playing out. There's going to be a lot of information, though, I think, as we move towards the end of the month, and definitely use that new moon and follow along with the dailies, you guys, because we will be talking about all this stuff in real time in much more detail as it comes to pass. I'm going to grab us a synchronicity card now for the month and just maybe get like an idea of what we should focus on as the month plays out. We've got 2 cards coming out. Honesty pays, you guys. Especially as we get into the Jupiter energy and Jupiter trine Pluto, like do the right thing, okay? Honesty is our golden ticket, and also we've got don't fight it coming through. Don't fight it. Release those subject to bondage, Hebrews 2:15. Whatever type of restriction or bondage you find yourself experiencing, don't fight against it mentally. Know God will open up a new door for you and lead you to peace and freedom. If you're feeling that way to start the month of May, just maybe keep that in mind, because we are in this intense Plutonic energy, which could really be just making things a little bit difficult to start the month. And then we have honesty pays. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. Proverbs 11:5. Let all you do be done with love, honesty, and integrity. Don't do anything you know to be wrong. If you hurt another, you are only hurting yourself. Honesty is the best policy. And you guys, as we are moving into a month that has a lot to do with the Jupiterian energy of truth, especially coming into a trine with the Plutonic force, and of course in the conjunction to the Uranian energy, honesty pays, we'll put it that way. That's what I have to say, you guys. That's how I feel like the month of May is unfolding for us. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Share it with your friends if you think they would also be interested in this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, you guys. I'm so grateful for your presence here. I honestly value and appreciate what you guys have to say, what is going on. I like knowing what's going on with you out there. I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you guys so much. If you want to know what's on these whiteboards, I have a Facebook group where I post images of them them in my description box below. Prayers to Janice Shellman, our creator of the Synchronicity card. She's been having some health issues lately. She usually posts the Synchronicity cards in that Facebook group as well, but we are praying for her recovery, for her health and well-being, so that she can come back and do that for us again. And I will be back, you guys, on Friday, and we will be getting back into our daily videos. And we're gonna have a lot more energy to talk about coming through this. Like I said, very busy week that we have coming up this week. The moon is gonna finish transiting through Pisces and then going to move through Aries and Taurus, where we have all these stelliums right now. So bang, 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 one thing after another. Pace yourself a little bit, but don't be surprised if you are just feeling like a bit of a chicken with your head cut off over this next couple of days. It's just kind of what we're primed for energetically out there. So I'll be back on Friday to talk about it, you guys. You should be here too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you next time. Have a very beautiful May 1st. And until then, bye guys.